When Titanic hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic on the night of the 14th of April 1912, she sank within 2.5 hours. She was carrying around 2,240 souls. Just over 700 survived. There has been speculation over the origin of the disaster ever since. Here we will dispense with all conjecture and focus only on the safety equipment that she was carrying at the time, without any reference to the wisdom or circumstances of its deployment or effectiveness. We will start with the two 35-foot cutters which were outboard on davits directly behind the main bridge. Each could carry 40 souls. They were very similar in many respects to the main lifeboats, carrying the same safety equipment. They were on standby for immediate deployment. Passenger overboard, for instance, or any other occasion when launching a small boat was an appropriate response to an emergency. The state-of-the-art davits were made by the Welin Davit and Engineering Company Limited of London and had the ability to launch double-banked boats if available. The 14 main lifeboats were 30 feet long and had capacity for 65 souls each, fulfilling British Board of Trade requirements, which specified cubic capacity of the hull as an indicator of how many people could be safely carried, rather than the actual dimensions of the vessel. A Murray's disengaging gear allowed both ends of the manila rope falls and blocks to be released from a convenient position in the boat. Each lifeboat was equipped with a regulation copper buoyancy tank, a set of 10 oars, a steering rudder, a sea anchor, 2 bailers, in effect dual-purpose vessels used for drinking and called dipper cups, a watertight provision box, a lantern, a spirit compass with a fitting for its use, a 150-foot painter, effectively a tow rope, 2 10-gallon freshwater tanks, 2 longboat hooks, a sail wrapped in a canvas bag, and a mast. All lifeboats had a lifeline fitted. Titanic also carried 4 Engelhardt collapsible lifeboats. They were, in a way, a cross between a raft and a standard boat, but took up far less space when stowed. Each boat could carry 47 souls. 2 were situated abreast of the cutters, port and starboard, and another 2 either side of the first funnel, on top of the officer's house and captain's quarters. They had a low clinker-built hull which had the added advantage of being filled with granular cork, making them very buoyant and virtually unsinkable, even if punctured. Indeed, one was found floating by RMS Oceanic almost a month after the disaster. Around the gunwale, prior to launching, a canvas curtain was raised, supported by a number of metal elbow struts, locked in position by a lifting beam with central prop, which was attached to the solid top rail. Once the struts were deployed, the surrounding seat would drop into place, supported on small cleats attached to the elbows. As you can see, there's a planked deck and stout seating for the occupants. Around the base of the canvas curtain, there's a cork-filled fender to protect the edges of the vessel. With that, Titanic's lifeboats had the capacity to carry 1,178 souls. Individual life rings were located around the ship. In total, there were 48 life rings carried on board. On the navigation, bridge rails, aft on B deck, and several other locations about the vessel. Along with these, life vests provided by Fosbury & Co. of Barking, cork slabs enclosed in a canvas cover with 4 ties, fastened at the front, of a design approved by the Board of Trade, were provided for passengers and were available throughout the sleeping accommodation, distributed by the crew. For navigation, Titanic carried 4 Kelvin and James White compasses, one located on the captain's bridge, one in the wheelhouse, one on the compass platform, positioned near the middle of the vessel as far away as possible from the metal bulk of the ship. The 4th compass was aft, on the navigation bridge, close to the auxiliary steering gear, which was a manual system to be used if the main rudder controls became unserviceable. There can be no overstatement regarding the innovative technological brilliance of the Marconi radio that was installed on Titanic. It is without doubt that the 5 kilowatt set and the determined bravery of Chief Wireless Operator Jack Phillips saved the lives of those who survived the sinking. The radio's antenna was a near vertical 50 metres, connecting to 4 120-metre horizontal wires. This early T-aerial configuration was initially well suited to ships, since it could be strung between the masts. Titanic's radio signal had a range of around 300 miles in daylight, but at night it increased to double or triple that due to refraction in the ionosphere. Aside from radio, there were 2 more traditional means of attracting attention or sending messages. The Morse lamp was an effective method over distance, the range of which dictated by the power of the lamp. In Titanic's case, depending on atmospheric conditions, particularly on a calm night, the signal lamp may have been visible for up to 10 miles. The bulb was electric between 25 and 35 candle power. This light was made more powerful using a dioptric lens, similar to the Fresnel lens of a lighthouse, which concentrates the beam. There were 2 such lamps installed, each on the wing cab roof of the navigation bridge, port and starboard, operated by switches from within the shelter. Titanic carried pyrotechnics to draw attention in distress. Referring to them as a rocket is only partially correct. They looked more like a small shell. Their design made them much easier to use than rockets, since they had their own internal ignition. They were fired from a simple launcher, one on the starboard bridge rail, the other at the stern on the port navigation bridge rail. The mechanism was ingenious and self-contained, perfect for use in the confused circumstances of distress experienced on a foundering vessel. The signal, as the shell was called, had a hole running almost the length of the body. Into this was fed a friction tube. The signal was then placed into the rail socket. A lanyard with a hook was attached to the ring of the tube and pulled smartly away. This caused friction in the tube similar to striking a match, igniting the powder charge at the base, and the whole shell was propelled swiftly upwards to a height of around 600 feet. During this journey, a timed interior fuse would burn for 6 seconds or so, igniting the stars, which would explode from the signal body. And the consolidated charge would fire, accompanying the glowing stars with a loud bang.